Hey everybody, how are y'all doing on this beautifully hot Tuesday? I hope everybody's having a good day today, and if you're having to work, I hope work's going good. And I hope you're staying cool out there if you're having to work outside. If you're not having to work outside, I hope you're still staying cool, and it's been a productive, easy day for you. If you're off today, I hope you're having a good off day and staying hydrated and cool out there. Uh, so you've never been to the South, and you're either wanting to visit or move down here, and you want to know what the heat in the middle of summer is like. Well, uh, starting toward the end of May until, I know this is going to be hard to believe, because places out north, out west, and up into the northeast United States start cooling down about this time. But from toward the end of May until almost to the end of October, it's usually brutally hot down here in the South. And like I said, if you've never been to the South and experienced it, or you're wanting to move down here, you wanting to visit, you've never experienced heat like this, all I can say is keep you plenty of stuff around to keep you hydrated. Stuff like water, water, Powerade, Gatorade, anything that's got electrolytes in it. That's going to help keep you hydrated, help keep you cool down. And especially if you're going to be outside doing something like fishing, working out in the yard, working on the job, you're definitely going to want something like Powerade, Gatorade, water, something with electrolytes in it. You definitely don't want to drink soft drinks and stuff like that, because that's just going to lead downhill pretty quick. Now, if you want to know what it actually feels like what the heat feels like, well, down here we have heat plus the humidity. The best thing I know to do is, if you have a well-insulated house, go to your kitchen and turn your oven on to the highest you can get it. Walk away for about 2-3 hours, and then come back in there and stand directly in front of the stove. Leave the door open so the heat can get out, and then don't stick your face in the oven, but like you're checking on something in there to see if it's done. And that's the best way I can describe how the heat feels down here in the South when it's in full swing. Because usually when summer first starts, it's not that bad. And then getting toward the end of summer, leading into fall, it's not that bad. But at the peak heat, when the heat's at its peak, it feels like you're standing in front of an oven on the highest temperature you can get, and it stays like that for somewhere right around 9 o'clock in the morning till about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. So you're looking at 9 or 10 hours of just brutal heat. Like I said, stand in front of an oven you left on for 3 hours with the door open, you have a pretty good idea what that feels like. Now, I'm sitting out here today because I forgot. Actually, I didn't forget that some Jehovah's Witnesses were supposed to come by to talk for a little while. I didn't exactly get the house all that great cleaned up. I don't like people coming inside of a nasty house. And yes, I know I do got a church I go to on a regular basis, and you may be thinking, why in the world would you want to talk to Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, it's kind of a split down the middle reason. Now, I like to, even though I grew up in a Baptist and a Pentecostal, going to a Baptist and Pentecostal church, or a Church of God, I should say, I've always been curious about other denominations and religions. Because, I want to understand where they're coming from, what they believe, what the rules they have to follow is, and everything, and why they believe that. I'm not a judgmental person. I'm just, I guess you could say, curious on why they believe the way they believe. As some of y'all that's followed me for a while knows, that I have an open mind. I believe as long as you're doing nothing illegal and you're not trying to force your way of life on to others, you have every right to live your life how you see fit. But, I've went to we got a Catholic church here. Now, the Catholic church isn't as excuse me, but the Catholic church here, we have only one around here, believe it or not. You would think DeKalb County would have a Catholic church in it, since DeKalb County's got more of a, how should I put this without sounding racist? They have a bigger Hispanic population than Jackson County does, and where I live at. But to the best of my knowledge, DeKalb County don't have a Catholic church. But here in Jackson County, in Scottsboro, it's probably about a 30-minute drive from where I live at. We got a Catholic church. I went to a service, just curious about how they do things. It just wasn't for me. I've never been to a Jehovah's Witness church, but I have talked to them over the years, and I don't want to sound like I'm judging their way of belief, but I just find it hilarious that I'll go, as far as religions and denominations go, that one's, well, they fall under a different denomination at church, but just the way they believe and see things is just absolutely hilarious to me. And I won't get into that until another video, because then I'll be sitting here on a nearly 2-hour video. And I just enjoy talking to them. And a lot of them that, I'll raise questions about things they never thought about. And everything. And I'm one of those that, if I'm talking to somebody that, I got friends and family who believe in God and go to church, whether it's the same denomination I go to or different. Got friends and family who believe in God but don't go to church. Got friends and family who believe in a higher power, but they don't know exactly what the higher power is. And then I got friends and family who don't care either way. I got friends and family that are atheists and just don't believe in God. But and believe it or not, none of us get into arguments over anything. We just don't bring it up. But I'm one of those, if they bring it up when I'm around. I had this discussion with a friend of mine. Her and her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend are atheists and don't believe in God, but I'm one of those. I like to sit down and have an intellectual, grown-up conversation, no arguing, because I like to bring up questions that they may never thought of. Just to plant a little seed there, be like, hey, maybe there's more to this than I thought. But we were sitting there talking, and my friend's stepdaughter, well, I'm friends with the wife and everything, but she asked, how can you believe in something that you don't see, that you can't see? I was like, and I'm not one of those that I give the cliche Bible answer. I was like, I'll explain it in a way that is, I'll explain it to you that, for people like me who really ain't that smart, but I was like, I'll explain it to you the way it was explained to me. And I was like, I have my own personal experiences that throughout life that's led me to believe in God and believe there's a God out there. But I was like, we can't see oxygen, but we feel its effects. We can't see the wind, but we feel its effects. We can't see gravity, but we feel its effects. We can't see the ozone layer, but we feel its effects on our everyday life. I was like, if by your idea that if we can't see something, then it don't exist, then, well, you might as well say there's no gravity, there's no wind, there's no oxygen, ozone layer, and all that. And, they got kind of quiet and thought about it, and you can see they was scrambling to try to come up with a logical way to explain that, but they couldn't. And like I said, we was having a grown-up conversation about it. Nobody was yelling or getting loud or putting each other down. I was like, yes, in all honesty, we may not see Jesus and God, but we feel the effects. It's that little nudge. Like if you little nudge to take that left instead of going right, and you come to find out later on if you'd have took that right, you could have been in a serious car accident and died. I was just giving out examples here. And I gave out another example that they couldn't explain either. It's getting that diagnosis from a doctor that it's life-altering, life-changing, and then it's suddenly gone, and medicine and science can't explain what happened. And they was like, what do you mean? I was like, all right, I'll give you an example. I know this person well enough to know that they wouldn't lie about this. I've went with them to their doctor's office. I know they don't lie about something like this. But she had gotten a diagnosis of cancer, and it was pretty serious. It was going to involve a lot of chemotherapy and radiation, surgery, all the good stuff that comes with having cancer. And there's like, the doctor we had was an atheist. She was an atheist, didn't believe in God. And we kept laying hands on her, which I had to explain to them what that meant, and praying over her. And one day she goes in her appointment. I was with her because I'd always drive. And they done an x-ray. And we go back into the room where they got her at. Waiting on the doctor and everything. Doctor walks in with a nurse with him. And you could tell something on his face has changed. He's got a confused look. Because everybody knows what a confused look looks like. He was confused. It looked like somebody pulled the rug out from under him. And he looked at my friend. He was like, well, I got good news for you. She was like, what? She's like, he's like, your cancer is completely gone. And at this point, I think they've only done like one round of radiation. Or may have not just started, it was about to, something like that. But anyway, he put the x-ray up on the wall there, showed the before what she had, and showed the afterwards completely gone. Went and done another one just to make sure that, nothing got screwed up, showed the same results. He's like, I can't explain it. I was like, I've looked at this from every medical and scientific way that I can, and I can't come up with the answers on why it would suddenly disappear. And without missing a beat, my friend said, well, God healed me. And he was like, what are you talking about? How can somebody who ain't real, heal you? She was like, well, we've been praying over at the church, and it's suddenly gone. And she was like, you already admitted that you've looked at it from every scientific and medical way that you can't explain it. But and believe it or not, that doctor went from being an atheist to going to church, changing his life over, getting saved, and now is now he's a Christian himself and goes to church. And I haven't bumped into him in a while, so I hope he's still doing good. But that's just one example I gave to him that science couldn't explain how how science and medicine couldn't explain what happened. He said they looked at it every which way they could and couldn't explain it. And I looked at them, I was like, I'm not trying to be a butthole. I was like, I know y'all try to find a way to explain it away, but there's nothing in this world that we got, science-wise or medicine-wise, that'll suddenly just make it vanish like that with no scar tissue or nothing, or any evidence it was even there, other than the x-ray. And needless to say, they walked away from that conversation a little different, but anyway, I know this video is a little bit different, but I guess I had a couple of things to get off my mind and all that. And I will see y'all in the next video.